PKK's Executive Council announced a ceasefire as of March the 1st, backing Abdullah Öcalan's disarmament call and demanding his release for political reconciliation with Turkey. Top Turkish far-right nationalist politician Devlet Bahçeli endorses the Kurdish leader's historic call for the PKK to disband. Over the weekend, international figures have continued to voice support for Öcalan's peace call made Friday and the subsequent declaration from the PKK of a unilateral ceasefire. And in other news, mass protests and strikes erupted across Greece on Saturday, marking the second anniversary of the Tempi train disaster, with demonstrators demanding accountability from the government. Learn more with Medya News. The Kurdistan Workers Party, or PKK, declared a unilateral ceasefire on Saturday, following imprisoned Abdullah Öcalan's historic call for disarmament and a new era of political reconciliation with the Turkish state. The PKK stressed that practical implementation of the ceasefire must include the release of the Kurdish leader for face-to-face negotiations and to facilitate the restructuring of the PKK. The PKK emphasized that its forces will not engage in combat unless directly attacked, fully endorsing Öcalan's recent call for peace and democracy, describing it as a pivotal framework for resolving the Kurdish issue and establishing lasting stability in the region. The PKK expressed its willingness to convene a party congress, as Öcalan proposed, but asserted that he must be able to personally oversee the proceedings. Acknowledging the sacrifices made in their decades-long struggle, the PKK paid tribute to fallen fighters and highlighted the importance of continuing the movement for democracy and freedom. Public support, particularly from women and youth, was called crucial in realizing this vision, it said. The PKK's primary armed wing, the People's Defense Forces, or HPG, has called on all its units to comply with the PKK's ceasefire declared on March the 1st, following Öcalan's peace call. However, the HPG warned its forces to remain vigilant against potential Turkish attacks and to be prepared for self-defense if necessary. In a surprising political shift, Devlet Bahçeli, leader of Turkey's far-right nationalist movement party, MHP, and a key ally of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, has endorsed imprisoned Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan's call for peace. Pledging practical support for the ceasefire process, Bahçeli vowed to help establish a democratic framework that fosters Kurdish-Turkish unity, while warning against attempts to sabotage the initiative. Bahçeli's endorsement follows a conversation with pro-Kurdish Dem Party co-chair Tuncay Bakirhan and a written statement emphasizing the historic nature of Öcalan's appeal for disarmament. Despite his hardline nationalist reputation, Bahçeli acknowledged the PKK leadership's alignment with Öcalan's call as a crucial step towards peace. Warning against internal and external provocations, Bahçeli criticized those who seek to derail the process, urging unity against forces that benefit from continued conflict. His intervention signals a possible shift in Turkey's Kurdish policy, with potential implications for the ruling coalition's approach. While the government's next steps remain uncertain, the call for Öcalan's release continues to gain traction among political and human rights groups, emphasizing his central role in achieving a lasting resolution to the Kurdish issue. In a further development, the prominent Kurdish politician Selahattin Demirtas, a political prisoner of Turkey for nearly 9 years, has praised Bahçeli, President Erdogan, and Öcalan for their roles in the new peace process, vowing to do everything he can to support it. Shortly after this, Bahçeli called Demirtas in prison to thank him for his backing. Over the weekend, international figures have continued to voice support for Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan's peace call made Friday and the subsequent declaration from the PKK of a unilateral ceasefire. Former Italian Prime Minister Massimo D'Alema praised Öcalan's peace initiative as positive and courageous. urging Turkey, particularly President Erdogan, to embrace this opportunity for reconciliation. Dialama, who sheltered Öcalan in 1998, has long advocated for his pivotal role in any peace process. He emphasized the importance of addressing Kurdish rights for stability in both Turkey and the broader Middle East. In Germany, Gregor Gysi of the Die Linke Party welcomed Öcalan's call to end armed struggle, stressing the need for Turkey to halt violence against Kurds. He also suggested involving a neutral mediator, recalling Norway's role in the 2008 Oslo process. Gysi has requested to visit Öcalan in prison, and Germany's foreign ministry has expressed support for the peace process. Catalonia's largest left-wing party echoed this call, with Senator Laura Castel urging Turkey to take meaningful steps toward democratic transformation. Irish party Sinn Féin also threw its support behind Öcalan's peace efforts. The party's foreign affairs spokesperson Donchad Olagere called for Öcalan's immediate release, urging Turkey to reciprocate with confidence-building measures to pave the way for a sustainable peace process. As global support grows, the international community remains hopeful for a peaceful resolution to the Kurdish issue, emphasizing the recent developments as inspirational to other oppressed groups throughout the world. Political commentator Ahmed Dile said Öcalan's call was a strategic move, which is likely to affect the entire Middle East. It not only marks the end of a 40-year conflict between the Turkish state and the PKK, he noted, but also the beginning of radical political and legal change. Thousands of people across Greece took to the streets on Saturday to mark the second anniversary of the deadly Tempi train disaster, which claimed 57 lives in 2023. The tragedy, the worst rail disaster in Greek history, occurred when two trains collided, and protesters accused the government of failing to take responsibility and covering up the incident. Demonstrations erupted in over 262 cities and towns in Greece, with additional protests in 125 locations worldwide. The protests were part of a general strike, which brought Athens to a standstill, affecting transportation and healthcare sectors. Demonstrators gathered outside the Parliament building in Athens, demanding accountability and justice. Clashes with police broke out as authorities responded with tear gas and stun grenades. Approximately 200 people were detained, with 66 arrests made. People are angry about the Greek government's response to the Tempi train disaster because they believe the government is covering up the incident and failing to take accountability for the tragedy. Protesters accuse the authorities of not addressing the root causes of the disaster, such as poor infrastructure and safety lapses, and they demand a legal reappraisal of the events. Families of the deceased and protesters claim that the bodies of the victims were buried in undisclosed locations, leading to accusations of a cover-up. Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis addressed the nation, urging that the tragedy should not be used to undermine national unity. However, protesters continue to criticize the government's handling of the disaster and the broader political system.